putting the clutch slave cylinder in today, which is right down here behind that strap. So I got that right from O'Reilly's. You can pick it up at a local O'Reilly's. You can also get them off of Amazon. They're cheaper off of Rock Auto, but I didn't feel like waiting for the shipping. And then in here, you can see the slave cylinder coming through. That's gonna push on the clutch fork once we have the clutch fork on. Up here, you've got the clutch fork pivot right in there. This little clutch fork pivot has a bushing that goes right here. It's plastic. You can see it's going to fit onto, it's going to push right on here. And then that little fork fits in that groove right up there. If you can see that. So that fits in there. And then your clutch fork is going to go right on here, and I'll show you how to do that in a sec. So you've got the slave cylinder poking through and the little pivot up there with the clutch fork pivot. That's a clutch arm bushing, I think they call it. Don't quote me on that, not positive. Quick video on just your throwout bearing and your clutch fork and all of those parts. I had originally done this, and luckily I posted a video and someone in the comments said I had it backwards, so you don't know what you don't know. But luckily I ripped it all apart, popped my throwout bearing on the right way, which I should have known. Honestly, I have done a clutch before, but I obviously wasn't paying attention. So the throwout bearing slides onto your fork. The fork has a little rubber bushing here, which goes on the release arm, which is in there. That little rubber bushing just snaps on with a spring. You can see the little spring goes over the top right there and comes in and just clips real easy. Shout out to the Curbmeister who told me to pop a little grease in there and actually shows a video on how to put this together. So you've got the little pivot point right in there, and there is a little pivot point. I think it's a release arm bushing, it might be called, a bushing of some sort. And you can see it slides on, and it's got a little groove right here that plastic thing fits in. Make sure it stays in there. Then you're just going to slide your clutch fork back on with the pilot bearing in place. I'm trying to do this one-handed. That little rubber bushing will actually pop on there. Pops right on. Make sure your pilot bearing stays in place. Your clutch fork, or I'm sorry, your slave cylinder down here, it gets pushed into right there, and you can see there's the clutch slave cylinder. The slave cylinder is available, like I got mine right at O'Reilly's for like 38 bucks. You can find them on Amazon for like 33 or Rock Auto for 26 plus shipping. I just went to O'Reilly's because they had it the next day for me. So there's how you throw your clutch together, or rather your fork and slave cylinder and all of that together. So another thing I did, as long as we're in here, is the G96 bolt holes are actually set up for 12 mm's. So what I did is I made some little bushings to take up the slack in there. All of the stuff that comes with an RCR adapter is set up for a 10 mm, and I didn't like that slop, so I made those little bushings to hold it a little tighter. You're only gonna get 10 mm's of thread on the back side on a 10 mm bolt, like right in here, which I didn't love, so that's why I wanted a little extra support in there. That's gonna screw into right here on that Race Car Replica's G96 adapter for the 302, 351. And then there's your clutch setup with the pressure plate. This is kind of interesting. In there you've got, this is a flex plate. It's not an actual flywheel. And then you've got this acts as your flywheel, which is an adapter from Race Car Replica. Sorry, I keep putting my finger in the frame there. So that's basically your flywheel, which bolts to a flex plate. You got your clutch, and then the fingers get depressed by, obviously right here, your throwout bearing. So there we go, there's the setup. Some little bushings to take up the slack on the 12 millimeters. You can see those little bushings in there that I made. I don't have a lathe, so I actually literally just ground those down using my bench grinder. I just kept spinning them, and then test fitting them. So that's my setup. And thanks again to the Curbmeister for showing you the basics on how to do this.